Have you ever noticed that every time you've given into an impulse, the next time it came around, it came back twice as strong, like it's been in the gym, lifting weights, putting on some muscle, like it sat in the mirror, doing some kind of speech, practicing. This is the line that's going to convince them to come back and do it again. You see, that's the thing. That's the flesh. The flesh is always battling us daily. We always have some kind of internal battle going on. But most of us are victim. We fall victim to the impulses, to the urges, because we feel like we don't have any control. The thing is, we trained our body for too long to expect the exact thing that it's craving. We've given in too many times. We've allowed it too much fun at the wheel and the driver's seat, and it doesn't want to get out. But that's okay, because we can always start today with implementing self-control. This is exactly why I do things to intentionally deny the flesh. This is why every day I fast. It's like, listen, I'm going to feed you when I want to feed you. I know you need food, body, but guess what? We don't eat in these certain times. You know, I was reading the Bible and I was looking for just anything that stood out. And Proverbs 25 and 28 stood out to me. And it tells us about how the people who don't have control over their spirits are exactly like the kind of city that's broken down without any walls. Just anything and anyone can walk in and plant their seeds of influence. And there's nothing we can do because we're stuck in the perpetual loop of impulse here, impulse there, and every time it pops up, I feel like I gotta do it. No. How are we going to be able to implement self-control if the urges are always in the command center? They're always the one who determines exactly what we do. I think many of us, far too many of us, are controlled by our feelings. And we think that we can't control our feelings. Like they just come up for no real reason. But that is also another issue where a lot of us lack awareness. We don't actually understand what's going on. We don't see the source. Because all these feelings that we encounter, they all come up for a reason. They're not just, I'm out of energy today. I don't know what happened. Okay, well, let's backtrack. Was it something you ate? What did you eat? Was it some nonsense, huh? And you wonder why you're out of energy. Or maybe it's not something you ate. Did you get enough sleep? Have you hydrated? But many of us never look back and analyze. So we just live life going through the same situations, the same cycle without ever really doing some deep dive investigating to understand ourselves. So the main thing that I'm battling today is checking the notification center. Going to the different apps and looking at the feedback. How many likes did this get? Anybody comment? Ooh, what are the views here? How's this video doing? Oh, this video's going well now. Okay. And it's that cheap dopamine. In a sense, it's not cheap dopamine because I put in the work to actually receive something. But it's still dopamine that I don't need because it's training my mind to fall into the impulse. So now, if I'm not aware, if I'm not actively living life intentionally, and I pick up my phone, one of the first things I do, boom, swipe down to look at the notifications. But see, that's the thing. We have to detach whatever it is that's drawing us towards these impulses, the things that are causing these cravings to happen. I may not be able to completely get rid of my phone, but I don't need to always have it by me. Maybe the thing that I need to do is just, okay, this is my task. This is my objective. I'm going to pick up my phone to do this. And as soon as I do this, I get off the phone and I put it out of arm's reach. And then I also put it in a position where I can't even see it. And I've noticed that every time that I've put it out of position, hid it somewhere, that I was far more productive and I actually got more things done because I'm not just picking up my phone and look at some notifications. And it's not even like anybody messages me. It's not like I got a whole bunch of notifications popped up because notifications are silenced. It's the same notifications. Like I looked earlier and it was just the same daily Bible verse, and then it had the reminder to pray. It's like, what? You just looked 30 seconds ago. Nothing changed. But every time that I notice a new notification pop up after I check, especially in a short window, then that's just feeding the impulse. It's feeding the flesh. It's feeding my brain's cravings for that dopamine hit. You know, it's just like every time we open up the social media apps and we get trapped into a cycle, into a loop. I find myself whenever I go onto Instagram to actually post something, they always put a nice little short video right there smack dab in my face. And if I'm not really intentional, if I'm not on points, then that reel robs my attention. It steals my time. I couldn't tell you how many times I've gotten on an app and I completely forgot why I even got on the app to begin with. Was I supposed to post? Was I supposed to ask someone a question, message someone? See, these are the exact symptoms of whenever we let the flesh get into control. Every time we allow ourselves to give into an impulse, give into that urge that we know we don't really need to do, we're allowing the flesh to gain strength. The flesh gets stronger. The spirit, that other part of us, the actual I, our spirit gets weaker. It doesn't have as much control over our being because we allowed the flesh to take the steering wheel. But the same thing can be said for when we're building self-control. That if we actually ignore that impulse, if we resist the urge, we're going to gain strength every time, even if it doesn't feel like it. It's always going to be hardest in the beginning. Of course, it's like that for literally anything worth doing. But each time we resist the urge, we gain just a little bit of strength. And we have to constantly remind ourselves that this is actually worth it. That it may feel impossible right now to get rid of this craving, to get rid of this impulse. But if I stay the course and I continue, then eventually the craving is going to become so weak that the next time that we resist, the craving doesn't even come up anymore. The craving completely dissipates. Then you can actually replace that craving with healthier cravings. For the first time ever, after I've been passively listening to the King James Version Bible audio on YouTube with no ads, and whenever I actually am sitting down and picking the verses, I implemented the practice to write down the same scripture over and over and over again to actually remember it. For the first time today, I've noticed that, man, I actually want to go back and study some more. I actually want to write down more verses. I actually want to memorize more. The hunger started to grow. The craving started to become part of me that replaces other things that I really don't need to be doing. So if it feels impossible right now, just know that it's all part of the game. It's all part of the walk. It's not going to feel impossible for forever. Because nothing is actually impossible. Nothing. Whenever we have that source, whenever we have God, all of those impossible things that we think could never happen, they actually become possible. We may all know, we may not know the verse that tells us that with man, these things are impossible, but with God, all things are possible. It's real. It's real. Whenever you get aligned and you start actually tapping into the source, you start to see transformations that you didn't even see coming. You didn't know that you would ever actually experience this. One last thing I'll share with you, and then I'm going to cut this off. Earlier today, I noticed for the first time, I sat there and I asked, what should I do here, God? And I was like, wait a minute. Did I really just ask that? Unprovoked. It wasn't planned. It just came out of nowhere. See, these are the kind of things that you start to notice when you start actually walking that straight and narrow path I told you about in the last video. I'm telling you, all of these things are worth it, and I can only say that because of the experiences that I've had. If you knew me 4 or 5 years ago, you'd be like, who is this guy? Who is this? First of all, you don't even look the same. Your hair is all the way down here. You have, 8 to 10 piercings. You got a piercing here, there, then the lip, and you got gauges that are almost a ½ inch, or almost a full inch, rather. And I was doing completely different things. But you never know where these small habits, where these resisting of the urges, where these little things that you don't think actually matter, where it doesn't feel like they are actually doing something for you, you never know where they're going to lead you. You never know the kind of impact it's going to have on not only you, but all the other people around you. And then you start to hear from other people just all the different things that they're trying, or what kind of actual impact you have on them just because they saw you transform, and how you inspired them because they didn't think that whatever you did was possible for them, but now that they saw you go from where you went from, go for where you came from, now they have belief. Now they have the courage to start walking on their journey. So this is just your encouragement. Your encouragement to continue the walk, to keep coming back, to practice your self-control, to be that person that you know you can be. And if you don't know, I'm telling you that there's a version of you that you couldn't possibly imagine today. But you can't meet that version of you unless you get started today. So thank you for sitting in this long. If you actually watched this long, you're a real one. I appreciate you, and I hope I see you in the next video. Thanks for tuning in. Adios.